We've all heard the accusations that cow farts and factory farm usage is killing our planet. If we continue to eat beef, we're on a crash course for disaster. But what if I told you that this is all based in myth and misconceptions? From a single thing, a lack of education about our agricultural systems and procedures. It would sound reasonable because it's true. And to combat this, I believe that we need to teach more agricultural, not less, more. From the primary levels of education up to the collegiate. People need to know where their food comes from and how it's made. But before we get into that, we need to break down into a couple different parts. The first being, what is agricultural education? How is it implemented? Why should it be taught? And what are the benefits of this? To that first point of what is agricultural education, it's a science-based class. It largely revolves around animal husbandry and land management. Simple enough subjects for many people to understand. Things that are designed for everyone to know about, but not enough people do. And another such thing is natural wildlife and fishery usage. And why those are included is a rather important reason as well, is because they allow us to pursue recreational means of game procurement, fish procurement, such as fishing or hunting. But to the points of earlier of animal husbandry and land management, it's pretty simple. Animal husbandry generally revolves around the raising of our livestock that either gives us a resource such as leather and skins or actual meat and dairy products. Quite a common thing. And land management generally goes into crop rotations, where cattle or sheep are raised and on what substances they are in those grazing lands, and other such simple matters. But these are fairly simple subjects, so why should they be taught? Well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said something that proves the point, is that cow farts are raising our emissions and that factory farm use is just crazy. Honorable Representative from New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, those are semi-truths that cows do indeed produce methane, but to quote Professor David Mitlerner in his op-ed video, why stopping eating meat won't save the world, it's rather simple. Is that's a rather clever deflection off of fossil fuels usage, which produces 80% of emissions at a rising rate in the U.S., far greater than cattle farming, specifically for beef. Another dangerous accusation that people get is that we're wasting the land for grazing pastures. Well, this simply isn't true because you can't grow anything on that land. Again, Professor David Mitlerner, most of that land is unarable. It's only able to grow grass. And unless people are able to eat grass, there's not really a purpose to try and introduce water that isn't there and make it arable. Another common one is that we're wasting food resources on our livestock. That cows require 54 kilograms of human edible food. Well, it is edible, but you don't get anything out of it. Much of it is cottonseed or chaffs from the grain, because our cattle and sheep and other ruminant animals, or animals that are not monogastric like ourselves, eat things that we actually can't eat. And even the monogastrics that we do have, like pigs and chickens, often eat recycled food, such as the pigs outside of Las Vegas that eat the leftovers that are not eaten the day before or night before at all the buffets on the strip. Again, these are somewhat large misconceptions that are creating a problem of uninformed consumers and uninformed politicians who are now setting unrealistic constraints and unrealistic expectations on farmers who do understand the science and who know that they cannot compete with that they cannot actually meet the goals that people are setting for them because they simply aren't feasible. But understanding that, what should be taught then? Well, as I said before, animal husbandry, to dispel the myths of animal cruelty, since every ranch and farm that we use to buy from local markets has to meet the standards of the FDA, Same thing with butcheries. They all need to not treat their animals cruelly as a basic tenet of their philosophy, being the FDA. Everything is ethically sourced in the US. And to understand this, we can better understand what the meaning behind the word organic is even. We can understand that it might imply a natural grazing land. It also might imply no antibiotics, that the animal is truly left to be grass-fed and grass-finished, a concept that not most people understand or quite get until they put it on their plate in front of them and they notice it tastes different. Another one is land management. Why do we rotate crops? Well, to change the pH in the soil. That's why there's sometimes silage on a field and the next time there's only hay. It's so that we get the maximum use out of our land to keep it profitable and to keep it sustainable, so we don't run out of space to produce what we need for ourselves. Again, it's the very simple subjects, not the complexities of soil science or any specific breeding procedures. It's the general sciences that we need to know to understand what's important. But to understand why this is important, we also need to see why it's going to benefit us. Well, it's because, as University of Connecticut's Future Farmers Association rather eloquently puts, agricultural education isn't just for the farmers. It's for everyone. Everyone can benefit from agricultural sciences because much of science actually goes towards agricultural. We've seen the AT&T commercials where they have specialized satellite equipment that predicts and transmits weather data to farmers so they can better tell when to water their crops and when to let them dry out and let the next rain cycle take care of them. We've also seen that many of those articulating arms are designed not by farmers in the shed that they own, but by actual scientists who understand water propulsion and the most ergonomic and efficient ways to get as much water to as many crops as possible, or how to put as many animals in a sustainably sized environment, or how to vertically integrate a farm. All of these parts come together to form agricultural education, something that has been dangerously undervalued in today's society, and that has created sadly uninformed consumers and sadly uninformed politicians who have placed these dangerous expectations on an industry that they know nothing about, that contributes $1.109 trillion to our GDP annually. Something that is no laughing matter, and to try and harm this industry would only harm ourselves. And as such, we need to take strides to learn more about it and to be more educated in its disciplines.